Saving Endangered Species of the Everglades, a presentation by Maggie Geidner for SciCon. Saving Endangered Species of the Everglades, a presentation by Maggie Geidner for SciCon. Hello, my name is Maggie Geidner, and today I would like to introduce you to a topic that is close to my heart, and I hope it will be something you find deeply distressing, and maybe even want to help about when you leave today. The wildlife of the Everglades is in serious danger. Indeed, dozens of species are endangered of going extinct, lost forever to us like the dinosaurs and the woolly mammoth. And even more species are at risk of becoming endangered. Now these endangered species have done nothing to bring this on themselves. The problem is wholly the creation of human activity. Green turtles are threatened by loss of habitat. Invasive species, like the Burmese python, are killing small animals. The Florida panther has been hunted to near extinction and lost habitat. Only changing the way humans behave can ultimately save these creatures. Some of these animals are grand and scary, such as the American alligator and the American crocodile. Some are cute and cuddly, like the slow-moving manatee. Others are lowly and ignored, such as the Atala butterfly or the Stock Island tree snail. But all are important in keeping the delicate ecosystem in balance. Today I want to highlight just one of these amazing creatures, the Florida panther. In 1995, there were only 30 of these cute and cuddly panthers left on the planet. Everyone had given them up for lost due to dwindling numbers, disease, and genetic mutation. That is, everyone but this guy. Stuart Pym of Duke University thought he had a way of saving the panthers. It is known as genetic rescue. So along with Oron Sonny Bass, Jr., a wildlife biologist for South Florida Wildlife Conservation Commission, a plan was developed to genetically engineer panthers that would reverse the plight of the Florida panther. The plan was controversial. One side argued that if the Florida panther's genes are altered, it's not a Florida panther anymore. The other side argued that they will be dead in 5 years, so what's the difference? Meanwhile, Stuart Pym noticed that the genes of the Florida panther and the Texas puma are almost identical, so much so that they are almost the same animal genetically. Pym suggested that if healthy female Texas pumas are introduced into the Everglades, then a new hybrid panther will be created that is genotypically and phenotypically identical to the Florida panther. Can you tell which one is a panther and which one is a puma? Puma? The one on the left is the panther. So in 1995, scientists started putting radio collars on Texas pumas and Florida panthers to track their movements. The 4 female Texas pumas mated with 4 Florida panthers, and each created a litter of offspring that contained none of the genetic abnormalities of the current population. The program was so successful that the panther population more than tripled in 10 years. While a great scientific accomplishment and a boost for the concept of genetic rescue, there are still less than 100 panthers alive today. So what was really going on here? The plight of the Florida panther was caused largely by genetic inbreeding, brought about by a declining population. A lack of genetic variation led to serious genetic abnormalities due to the transmission of recessive genes. This led to all sorts of problems in the panther population. Low fertility and undescended testes inhibited reproduction. Kinked tails led to poor balance and difficulty hunting prey. Heart defects led to early death. Genetically, what was happening was a natural consequence of small populations. Small populations lead to lack of genetic variability. Lack of variability means that individuals are less likely to be heterozygous. Individuals with heterozygous genes are less susceptible to disease and parasites. Individuals with homozygous genes are more at risk. They have only half the chance to carry the gene that can fight the disease. Bringing in new panthers is bringing in more heterozygous genes. Inbreeding is the other consequence of small populations. Offspring from inbreeding have health problems and low reproductive success, also known as inbreeding depression. Natural selection has a bit of a flaw. It only works if the genes are actually expressed as in a population. This is how disadvantageous genes are weeded out of a population. This is not a problem when an organism has dominant genes with a negative effect, as it will be quickly purged from the population. However, when genes are recessive, natural selection is different. Recessive genes are only expressed when an organism carries two copies of the recessive gene. Normally, once natural selection removes negative genes, the recessive genes are effectively hidden, that is, rarely expressed, except in the case of inbreeding. Closely related individuals are likely to carry the same detrimental recessive gene and pass it on to the offspring. So, offspring of inbred matings express many negative effects of recessive genes and are unfit for survival. Introducing new panthers to the population helps reverse the effects of inbreeding by bringing in new gene versions. Can this same strategy work with other endangered populations in the Everglades? Recent research by Maria Reutemann suggests that genetic rescue is an underutilized conservation strategy. Reutemann has applied genetic rescue intervention to the Eltham copper butterfly and endangered species of Australia with some success. A similar intervention could be done with the Atala butterfly. The manatee is endangered because of human-made chemical pollution of their habitat. The pollution compromises the immune system of the manatee and makes them susceptible to minor ailments that would not injure a healthy manatee. This is important because manatees have one of the most remarkable immune systems of any mammal. Almost all manatees die of natural causes, and rarely die of infection. To find them falling to rather harmless infections is alarming to marine biologists. However, the main virus causing infections is papillomatosis. In humans, this is commonly known as the HPV virus. However, the virus in manatees is a slightly different strain. There are two possibilities in this case. The first is to genetically modify the papillomatosis virus so it no longer influences the manatee. The second is to genetically modify the manatee to resist the virus. Both approaches are being pursued. Much of the funding for conservation and the protection of wildlife has been cut off by the state of Florida, as well as the federal government. So the last hope for saving these precious creatures is you. Get involved. Contact the World Wildlife Foundation at wwf.org or the Everglades Foundation. Or, believe it or not, go to a Florida Panthers hockey game. A percentage of sales from every ticket goes to help raise awareness about the plight of the Florida panther and other endangered species in the Everglades. Thank you for your time.